How to replace your filter in an external filter housing and properly flush the filter. This is a single filter housing. You may have a single or you may have a double or a triple housing. Your filter housing and or your ionizer may be located under the counter or they may be located on top of the counter. For this demonstration, we'll be using a single filter housing with our equipment located on top of the counter. We're using an Athena in our demonstration. You may have a different model ionizer connected with your external housing, but the instructions still apply. To replace your filters in your external housing, first you will want to turn off your source water. If your filter housing is connected to your faucet with a diverter, you would simply turn off the water at the faucet. If your housing is under the sink connected to your cold water line, you would want to turn off the valve at the T fitting so that the water is no longer being supplied into the housing. Once you've turned off the water, turn on your ionizer as if you're getting a glass of water. This is to relieve the pressure in the system. You might get a few drops or a small amount of water out of the spout, or you might not get any water out of the spout. Either way is okay. We're simply relieving the pressure in the system first. Once you've completed that, you're ready to open your filter housing and replace your filters. Depending on if you have a single, a double, or a triple housing, depends on what kind of filters you might have. So your filters may look different from the ones we're using, depending on your water conditions and the reason for your filters. Open your filter housing using the wrench supplied with the housing. Use the wrench to loosen the housing, then you can unscrew it by hand the rest of the way. Make sure you have a towel handy and a bucket. The housings will be full of water, so be prepared. Once you have opened it, you'll remove the filter, set it aside, replace it with your new filter, make sure it fits down inside the housing, and then reattach the housing to the lid. Tighten the housing by hand most of the way. Then be sure to use the wrench to tighten it all the way. Make sure it's very secure. When you turn pressure back on, you don't want it to leak from where it meets the cap. If you have a double or a triple housing, you will want to replace the filters and flush each one individually. Start with the first filter in the housing, replace that filter, and then go through the process of flushing it, then move on to the second and then the third filter. So when you're ready to flush your new filter, first it's very important to disconnect the tubing from your ionizer. This would be the tubing that comes out of the last external filter and supplies the water into the ionizer. You want to make sure to disconnect this so you don't flush these external filters into your ionizer filters. If your tubing's long enough, you can flush it into the sink. Otherwise, you can use a bucket and flush the filters into the bucket. To flush the filter, turn on the source water, run the water for 1 to 2 minutes or until the water runs clear. Then turn the source water back off. If you have a second and a third filter, you'll repeat that process. Once you've flushed all the filters in your external housings, reconnect the tubing to your ionizer. And then turn the source water back on. Then you can turn on your ionizer, check the entire system for leaks, make sure everything's working properly, and enjoy your water.